So we mentioned, Caleb Offord, Ramon Henderson. Those are two guys that kind of get lost in the mix a little bit, I think, because, of all the reasons that you just put out there about the three guys we've already talked about. What do you see these two guys doing this spring?
Well, we've talked at other positions, kind of like the middle children kind of thing,
right.
and that's them at corner because, there is the veterans like Cam Hart. And then, of course, Clarence Lewis has already stepped up and Tariq Bracy. And then there's the incoming freshman class, which is really good. So this is a big spring for those two guys. And they've got to step up and say, hey, look, you either step up now or you're going to get passed up. Simple as that. Yes. Caleb Offord, to me, is another guy that is super raw that needed last spring. I have no idea where he's at right now in his development, but I question his athletic ability for the position. I've always kind of felt maybe he was a better safety athletically, but then it's like I don't know if he has the body, and he's a big question mark. So I really don't have any clue what to expect from him this spring. He's just, to me, he's a blank slate in regards to my evaluation of him. Ramon Henderson, however, is an interesting prospect because when Notre Dame was originally recruiting him, I did not like that recruitment because when you watched him as a junior, he was a track kid trying to play football, and he was more of a receiver than he was a corner. But they pushed for him, and then you watch a senior film, and you're like, he's still a track player trying to play football, but he's at least showing a little bit more instinct as a football player. But he got a lot better at corner to the point where you're like, okay, I can see the hips now. I can see the feet now. Like, the tools are there, and he's extremely fast, and he's very long. So now it makes a lot more sense where, that's the kind of guy you take a flyer on and you take a chance on, because if it clicks, you've got a 6'1.5" long-armed guy that can run a 4.4. If it doesn't click, you've got a 6'1.5", long guy who runs a 4.4 that you can run down on punts and kickoffs, right? I mean, right. Yeah. And so that's where he is. And so to me, this is a big spring for him because he's kind of got that size where he could be a field player, but maybe you might have to give him a shot in the boundary if other guys don't step up. But maybe he's that nickel guy. And even if he's not a guy that's necessarily going to push his way onto the field this year, at least show enough to where you go into next spring and okay, now's your chance to, he's a redshirt freshman. He can go into next year then would be a redshirt sophomore, hoping to kind of crack the rotation at some point in time. But he's an intriguing player for me, Vince, because he does have things that you can't teach. You can't teach 6'1.5" with really long arms and legit low 4.4 speed. Yeah. This is a guy that I had really impressive track numbers in high school. It just needs to now translate onto the football field. And so if it can, you've got a speed guy, because a lot of the other bigger corners they have aren't speed guys. We'll get into some of the freshmen. They're great prospects, but they're not speed guys. Ramon Henderson is a speed guy. And if he pans out and steps up and earns that playing time this year, you have a different skill set that you can utilize. That's important. And if they can take advantage of that, and if he can take advantage of that unique skill set, then that just adds another really athletic option in the secondary that gives them potential, even if it's not maybe as a full-time guy, but maybe there's 4 or 5 games where you're like, boy, we could really use Ramon's specific skill set in this game. And those are opportunities where he gets more playing time.